Hello, and welcome to another game development broadcast for Project CSK. As usual, of course, I am the creator of the project, and the online name that I go by is Des. We're going to continue working on the project like we've been doing for some time, and today is our Friday broadcast stream thingy that we usually do on Fridays. I do broadcasts on Tuesdays and on Fridays, and this has been an ongoing project for me and something that I enjoy working on, and something that is a great opportunity for me to learn from in various different things, such as whether it's art, programming, just technology as a whole. And I kind of just do this to show you guys what's going on behind the scenes in terms of the project, the state that it's at, what I'm currently working on, and eventually we'll be able to play the project online together and have some fun online. Anyway, so this is going to be the continuation, more or less, kind of, where the previous stream kind of ended. I did have an opportunity to work on it a little bit here and there. And of course, I came across some bugs from before that I did fix and some other stuff that I didn't quite get a chance to fix. But we'll basically jump right into it and just continue from that point. I am going to connect to my... nope. I am going to connect my controller. So hopefully this will connect fine. Sometimes there's some weird nuances with it, but okay. So we're connected. Do I have my local server up? No, I do not. Okay. So I'll get that up and running as well. So just bear with me for a minute or so, and we'll be up and running in no time. Just need to make sure that we can log in. I'm just setting it up so we have a test room to go into. So I'm making a game room, and then I'm going to put a guest account into there as well. The good thing about these guest accounts is that you don't have to log in, just kind of toss it in there. Okay, so that room is going. We don't really need to see that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to connect with the Unity cross-platform client, and we should be able to log in and just kind of see where it's at right now. I did come across some interesting challenges, let's just say, when I was working on it before. Okay, gamepad, perfect. Okay. So with my gamepad, I do need to start the next round. Okay, I think we're on the right screen. Yeah, okay. So I'll just wait for the next round. I was working on the shield, the block, and then I came across some bugs and some challenges that I do need to fix. I am using my my controller right now. So I did fix that up. Okay. So we'll destroy some stuff, pick up some items. Okay. So that's a block. That one is pretty much ready for a little bit of polish that I'd like to do. I did kind of break the explosions. It goes through the obstructions instead of respecting the boundaries of the obstructions and not going through it. So that's something I will need to fix. And that bug right there that you just seen, I need to find what's causing that. So the first one you put down is okay, but the second one results in the first one disappearing. Even though on the server side, they still exist. It's just a visual anomaly on the client side. Okay, so we cleared all of that. So the block, if I place a block, let's say right here, it does work, and it is a correct obstruction. And if we destroy it, we get a pickup item. And then the shield, when you go to use it, there's no animation, but this is it for right now. So, of course, the shield gives you temporary invulnerability. But, yeah, so that's kind of what I was working on. And it is working. So the next one that I'd like to do is do the popsicle, which right now, if I go use it, there's nothing. Even though I did use it, and on the other clients, on the Flash client specifically, it did do its thing, but there's nothing yet on the Unity client that will kind of show what happened or the visual results. So this is kind of the continuation point that we're going to continue from. As you can see, of course, the more of these speed power-ups that I pick up, the more faster I go. Yeah, so this is the continuation point. So let's see if we can fix that anomaly first that prevents us from, or prevents our, no, it doesn't prevent us, should I say, for the explosion. It should respect the boundaries of the environment. So obstructions should stop the cloud visual effect of the explosion going through it. It should stop at the boundary. I think that should be a fairly simple fix. So let's jump into that and see. Now, where was that? So from Game Room, I was working on something that kind of broke that. So I know it is working. It's just when I was refactoring some logic, I think I just overlooked a detail. Okay. Let's move this over here. Let's close that. I just want to close some of the stuff that I don't really need right now. We'll leave that one up for now. Okay, so from here, when we go to create a ground block, I don't think that's right. I think we should be create ground block. I thought I changed this logic though. Did I not restructure that to be something more generic? Let me just adjust the brightness of the screen a little bit. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so let's see. On create indestructible pillars, gets called from here. Okay, so that's correct. It's the right class, but okay, let's see. Where was the other call that we made? So it's create indestructible, create game room bomb, create, generate. So the bounding environment. Okay. Then that's the destroy stuff. We'll get into that stuff later. So this from here, when it calls this calls create ground block. Ground block calls, does a bit of calculations, gets the object from the object pool, and then, at some point I messed that up. Okay, let's go with the other one. When the user adds a block, might be easier to go here. Update, destroy, remove, bomb, add destroyable block. Okay. Let's continue from this point. create destructible. So this is it right here. I think that should be it right there. So let's clear the bookmarks. We'll bookmark this location just so I know. Why was I not able to find this earlier? So if we're just creating the environment when we get it from the server, or when we get the synchronization packet from the server, it should call create ground blocks. Okay. Create ground blocks. Interesting. Okay, so let's jump to the other one. Oh, create destructible and then create ground blocks. Okay. So at some point when I was doing this, okay, so it must have been even farther back than I thought of when I changed everything to use the object pool instead of the other method that I was doing, because I replaced the code with this stuff right here, which is fine. It's just that, we really do need that other variable to be set. So that means this doesn't have it. If this doesn't have it, then that means the pillars, the indestructible objects, also don't have it. Okay, so how can we fix this? Create destructible calls create. Wait, that's not the right call, is it? Create environment object. No, that seems right. So we create it, we get it from the object pool. We call restore because we're using it out of the object pool. We need to restore it back to its original state. Set all of the parameters, tell it to update its appearance, and then return the dynamic object. Okay, so what I want to do then is I want to do basically, we want to typecast it. Actually, I wonder if we don't typecast it, do we have obstruction? No, I think that would be better to put that into the interface. So obstruction is exposed through the interface, so then I don't have to do, I don't have to typecast it. I can access it through the interface. I think I would prefer that. But let's have a look at it and see, does it make sense for it to be in the interface? So if it's an iPoolable object, no, it does not. Because it's a poolable object. It's not always going to be an obstruction. Okay, then yes, we will typecast it. I think that's what we need to do. So we'll go and environment dynamic object. And then from here, we set the obstruction flag to true. Let's actually bookmark this line and remove it from here. So I can just jump between this and this. I think that makes more sense. Okay, so that should be it for the destructible, but our indestructible, will likely need the same thing, but before I continue, let's test it just to make sure that we're on the right track here. Because if we're not on the right track, then I need to rethink this, because if this causes any type of complications, and it does seem to have caused some complications. Okay, so why did this not work? I thought I did it the same as how it was done here. So we get the iPoolable object. And then we just... Why does it not like that? And what's it saying exactly? Specified cast is not valid. Oh, ouch. Okay, so I definitely overlooked something here. When we call ground cube should extend from environment dynamic object, or is it supposed to be iPoolable object dot game object dot get component? I don't think I should have to do that. Let's try it. So that would make this redundant. I shouldn't have to do this though. The interface is attached, or this extends from the base class that the interface is attached to. I should be able to just typecast it, but let's see how it goes. Yeah, something is not quite right there. I think I'm overlooking something that I'll need to look into in a bit more detail just to make sure. Nope, still doesn't like it. Ouch. Okay. Why? Okay, so they're both getting the same result, more or less. Okay, so let's go back to how it was before, because this doesn't seem to have returned a valid result for us, which is why it failed the other time as well. So environment dynamic object from iPoolable object, all we're doing is just typecasting it. So let's see what happens when we do call for iPoolable object. What are we getting? Oh, ground cube. Oh, whoops. Okay, yeah, definitely not. Create ground block. Okay, that's a mistake. That's a mistake. I wasn't paying attention. I don't want a ground block. I want a destroyable object specifically. So I want not the ground blocks, destructibles is what I want. So create destructible. Okay, so this is setting okay, so that's create destructible. How about pillar? Create indestructible. I am setting it on both of them. Interesting. Okay. Maybe I'm not thinking clearly. Okay, then I'll need to analyze the code a bit more and see kind of what's going on there. So let's go ahead and run this, and we'll log in and see. Oh, I really like that I can use a controller for this. It just makes things so much better. I know it's personal preference, but okay, so that explosion did not go as I would have liked it to go. So what did I change, and at what point did it break? I don't remember. I must have changed something some time ago and then just not realized it and just kept on going. And then I only recently realized it. So like this explosion should not go through. Yeah, so it did go through when it shouldn't have. Okay, wait, the pillar. Let's look at that a bit more closely. Okay, so if I put one right here, where does the explosion go? Yeah, okay. No, that's not correct. So it should only be going the center, the top, and to the left. It should not be going down, and it should not be going to the right. So at some point, I did something that kind of messes that up. I'm not sure when. That's really interesting. How did that happen, though? Is this not flagged as obstruction? So if we go to... Oh, I moved the colliders around. I moved the colliders around. That's what I did. Okay. So... what do I need to do? Because obstruction is set. So this flag is set to true. This one is our box collider. And then the other one is our... Okay, so this is environment 2.5D. And then our other collider, environment 2.5D. Interesting. I think it's checking against this one. Sorry, not that. This one. And this one, of course, is not an obstruction. The other one is. So we need to... we need to go have a look at the... where is it? We need to have a look at this logic here to see where we go to check. I'm just trying to remember. It's been so long since I looked at this section of the code. I vaguely remember the logic. So let's see what's going on here. Where's the raycast specifically? Raycast right here. So we do a raycast all against this layer. We do a loop if trigger equals false. Yeah, this is it. If trigger equals false, we skip over it. I think we need to reverse that. I think if we reverse this, because we reversed the colliders specifically. I mean, I could just leave it, but then it would just check against more colliders. let's test this first just to make sure. So if this equals true, skip over the trigger, don't skip over the other. Because every object has two colliders. One is the trigger, one is the actual boundaries. And it's different in terms of its nesting structure. I think I should just check against both, but I want to verify this. So then it goes to check, is obstruction in path? We check this. Yeah, okay. And we get the is obstruction. If it's not, then it returns false. Okay, so that's exactly what's happening. Okay, so I didn't change it that long ago, but this should fix it. And if it does, then I'll remove that conditional check against is trigger. It's just an extra, like, 4, 5, 4. Yeah, an extra 4 colliders to check against. That's nothing. To test against. So performance-wise, I think it's worth it. So then I don't run into this again should we decide to use it in the reverse later on. So I think I should just leave it. Okay, let's restart this round. Okay, let's see if that logic has any merit to it. Okay, so we'll see right now. And yeah, okay, so that is it. The explosion now respects the environment and doesn't, the visual effect doesn't go through. I mean, it's played on the server, so regardless, and that was another anomaly right there, that blink thing that it did. And there we go, there's that other one again, the disappearing bomb. Okay, so this does fix it. This is a simple fix. It was just something I overlooked. Okay. So then what I want to do is I want to now remove that check entirely. We don't need this performance check. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm not going to remember that. And the performance is going to be like 1,000th or 100,000th of a percent. So I don't think anyone's ever going to notice that. I just want to make sure that it does work if I remove that. And it works exactly as intended. Okay, so let's see if this works. Okay. Yeah, okay. So yeah, it does work. I'll just leave it as is then. I'm okay with that. Yeah, see that disappearing explosion or explosive? I don't know what's causing it, but I do need to find out what's going on there at some point because it's just a visual anomaly on the client side. The servers where the game is actually played. Okay. So that was an easy one. All right, so the thing that I want to do is the popsicle throw. I want to be able to press the button and have it throw a popsicle. Of course, that's done on the server side, right? So when you press the button, you don't actually do anything on the client side. You're sending it to the server or the TCP/IP socket connection. Server processes it and then synchronizes all the clients, including the original source client who triggered it. So that's kind of the next thing. And then what I'm thinking is after I do that, then that means we have all three of our consumables or usable items. Then I can go in and add some a little bit of visual aesthetic. I like to have fun with those kinds of things. So I want to do that. Then I want to likely go address some of the bugs. And I think that's going to be it. Well, not completely. I think that'll be a good chunk of the logic for the game room. I want to move on to doing some more pixel art stuff because that's pretty fun to do. I enjoy doing that. I'm not the greatest pixel artist, but I'm learning. And I think the more pixel art I do, the better I get at it. And the better I can illustrate to an artist at some point in the future and say, please make, this style of pixel art. Then I can onboard an artist and then I can focus on to the programming and the other stuff and have the artist do the artwork from direction from me, of course. But that's kind of the current roadmap. So let's see how that goes. But first things first. So let's get the popsicle working. So what do we need to get the popsicle working? We need a test environment for it as well. So let's get that up because I don't want to have to log in every time. So right now, if I press this, so this is just running as test, it doesn't send anything to the server, and I press it again, it goes away. If I press the block usage, right, that one doesn't do anything here, but if I press the explosives, we can put an unlimited amount, really. Shield we can do. So popsicle is really the last one. So let's go and make it so we can use it in the test environment there. And then we will we'll get that synchronizing with the server, with what the server actually expects. So let's get the functionality in there first. Because the server already knows exactly what it needs, and we kind of know what the server needs. So let's kind of meet in the middle somewhere. What do we need to do? First thing, we need input action controls. So this would be, I keep forgetting. So primary button is south button, secondary is east, tertiary is west, quaternary is north. So we're pressing the tertiary button. So popsicle is tertiary. Okay, maybe not the press. I think the release is what we want. Or is it the press? No, it's the press that we want. It's the press that we want, not the release. Okay, so then if is user controlled equals false return. Okay, so that's true. And then we want if, I have no idea how I mistyped that. If test action is true, okay, how did we do the other ones? We went test action equals test quaternary action. Okay, so let's do the same thing. And instead of quaternary, we'll replace that with tertiary. Okay, so let's go and make that function. I can probably just copy and paste it actually. So let's do that. Save a few clicks. Okay, so we got bomb, shield, and then we need to create a new one. It'll need to be popsicle, use test. Okay, so on popsicle test, how did we do the other ones? I think what we'll do is we'll just search for this one and just kind of follow it kind of where that is. Oh, Mr. Cog 3D, previously known as Vegan Man. Sorry I missed you live gameplay Twitch. I did watch much of it on video on the next day. Okay, yeah, no worries. I understand you're busy. I appreciate you coming by and having interest in the project. It's going well. How are you doing though? Looking forward to the weekend. It's going to be a toasty one, I believe. We had a couple of cool days, and then the weather forecast says it is going to be extra toasty. Let's see, is it tomorrow? Yeah, so tomorrow is going to be 28 degrees approximately, and then the day after is going to be approximately 29 degrees, almost 30. That's going to be toasty. Yeah. So yeah, Saturday is going to peak out at about 26, 27-ish. Sunday around 29, Monday 29, 30, and then Tuesday it'll cool down again. So I hope you enjoyed the cool weather these past couple of days, because it's going to get hot. Oh yeah, it's going to get hot. Going to force myself to go hiking or the beach. Been a couple of years since I did that. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I really like hiking and just outdoor environment stuff, being out in nature. It's soothing for your soul, basically. Like, it just helps clear your mind. It's a really good stress reliever, and it's a good exercise, and you work up a good appetite and all that good stuff too, right? But just generally being in nature. I like to go bike riding myself and kayaking. Hiking. I used to, but then I don't do hiking. Not anything that's even remotely difficult, or jogging and running, just because those are high impact, or they're considered to be high impact on your knees, and I need to take it easy on that, because I already have cartilage damage from before. So as much as I enjoyed it, I can't do that. I used to really be into like just playing with friends and doing lots of sports and that kind of stuff. I was never really good at it, but I just enjoyed it. It was fun. So yeah, definitely enjoy it. Enjoy it. My daughter and her friends just left on a week-long hike. I haven't been out on a kayak for years. Yeah, it's great. I highly recommend it. You can just go out to one of the lakes that are local. You don't have to go all the way out there. Just make sure you check the weather forecast to make sure it's not like really windy, because it's not fun going against the wind when the wind is like anything above 6 kilometers an hour. Depending on the type of kayak you're using, you're not going to have a good time. Unless you're like professional, then of course it doesn't really matter to you. Well, technically it does at a certain point, if it's like 20, 30 kilometers an hour wind, but Either way, kayaking is really enjoyable. I usually take music with me as well, just like really calm music, and I'm out on the water kayaking. There's no one around, just me and my music and just the open water around me. It's very relaxing. I highly recommend that. I personally enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things to do in the summertime. If I can find the time or allocate the time to be able to do that, then yes, it's really enjoyable. But I mean, finding time these days is a luxury in itself that is more and more difficult to come by sometimes. I'd bring my fishing rod, but I don't know who to give the fish to. Yeah. Well, you could go fishing. I mean, you could go to the catch and release. You don't have to fish to fish. I mean, I'm sure the fish would appreciate it if you release them. But if you're going to eat it, of course, you'd have to go somewhere where the fish are edible and fish for those specific edible ones. I don't think most of the lakes around here have edible fish. I think they would be rather unhealthy to eat. But I don't know. I'm not really a fishing guy, so don't quote me on that. It's not my thing. Okay, so we can add this test in here as well. Shield usage. Yeah, I think this is as good as any spot. Okay. I kayaked on the ocean. Is great for that. Yeah, no, definitely good. Trout is everywhere. I'll take your word for it. But you hate the taste of trout. Yeah, everybody has different like preferences in terms of fish, right? There's certain things that I like versus others. Like me, I really really like sushi, right? And I mean the raw stuff. I understand technically it's considered as frozen cooked, so it's not like raw, but it's been deep frozen and then it's unfrozen and then you're eating it. So it's not cooked with heat, but the freeze cook process, I believe, does kill a lot of the bacteria and any other harmful things. So it makes it safe for eating. I really like it. I eat an absurd amount of the raw stuff. Other people, it's not their thing, right? They just don't like it. They will only eat something that is cooked and well cooked. So I understand and I respect that. Everyone has their preferences, but there's also restaurants that have good sushi, and there's restaurants that don't really satisfy me in terms of their quality and their portions for the cost of what they're asking for. I don't mind paying a little bit more for quality. I think when it comes to that, quality is really enjoyable for me. There's like one or two restaurants that I go to for that, but my point being, though, that everyone has different preferences, right? So that's kind of one of my preferences in terms of fish. I'll eat pretty much anything, cooked or uncooked. I'll pretty much eat it. That and most meats. Yeah, I eat pretty much anything. I'm not too biased. I just don't really like super hot, like spicy hot kind of foods. That was never really my thing, but everyone's different, right? So it's all good. Making headway on your programming? Oh, yes, absolutely. I've been going at it consistently for some time. Oh, and I recently made my very first YouTube video. I don't know if you seen that one, but definitely check it out if you want to see what my first video, like my training tutorial video looks like. It's my very first time making something like that. Of course, I've done some video editing, very basic stuff here and there, like when I upload to YouTube and whatnot. And then I put a lot of time into it. Like it took days to make this 5-minute video, and the audio turned out horrible. But the video, like the actual video portion of it, I personally think it looked good. The audio, I don't know what happened, but DaVinci Resolve completely butchered my audio, and I still don't know why to this day. I just haven't had the time to spend on it to figure out why the audio just got butchered so bad. It's not like unbearable, but there's clear artifacts in the audio, and there's a point where it does this loud cutout thing. It just doesn't make sense, because the source audio, the quality is good. It's pretty decent, like what you're hearing right now. This is pretty much the source quality audio that went into it. I chopped it up in DaVinci, put it all together, went through my script and edited, trimmed everything as best as I could. I fast forwarded a bunch of areas and whatnot. But then when I went and I encoded the final video, I didn't think about it, right? I just uploaded it to YouTube. It's like 5-minute video. And then I didn't think about it, right? Because I spent so much time on it. I just didn't want to listen to it anymore. So I didn't listen to the finished product. I only listened to it from within DaVinci Resolve, which was still the editing platform, right? And then the next day, right, I looked at it and I was like, wait, why is the audio so bad? Like, that's not what it sounds like, right? So I went back to my DaVinci like working project file, and I played it in there. I'm like, this sounds totally normal, right? And then I played the video again that I uploaded on YouTube, and it was terrible. So then I re-encoded it again and made a new version, and still the same thing. So I don't know what happened with the export. I don't know what's up with the settings. It's likely something I don't quite understand, but I don't know why. Anyway, so that's besides the point. But and I even spent time on. No, let's go to this one. So in terms of videos, so this is my video right here. It's got an amazing 18 views at this time, but that's okay. It was very specific. I didn't think it was going to get that many views. But so I made the thumbnail as well. I tried to be as specific as I could to be descriptive in what it is and what it does. So it came to being about 5 minutes, 50 seconds. But yeah, I just don't know why the audio turned out like that. Even though I went back and I re-encoded it a second time, the result was the same. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. My daughter goes out for sushi at least once or twice a month. I would like to do that, but I just can't afford that, to be honest. Sushi is expensive, depending on where you go. Like if you want good quality sushi, and I eat a lot, let's be honest. So for me, it's expensive. For someone else, maybe not as expensive, but for me, it's definitely expensive. Most sushi places are owned by Koreans. Yeah, I think that's kind of fair. For some reason, it is Koreans that often have the sushi places, but not always. Let's be honest, it's not always true. But I would say majority. If you were to average it, probably, because I've been to a lot of sushi places. But it can be expensive. Like I can easily rack up a bill. When I go sushi, no alcohol, nothing, right? Just green tea, water, and then the rest of it is just straight sushi. I can easily rack a bill $30, $40 plus. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I just can't stop myself from eating so much. It's because it tastes so good. What am I supposed to do, right? Like, I'm going there to eat. I'm going to eat. I'm not going to not, like, eat, right? So, yeah, that video I uploaded not that long ago. I always monetize my audio. I'm not sure what you mean by monetize. I don't really eat at the sushi places at the malls. I find, and that's just my personal experience. I'm not saying it's always going to be true across the board, but I find that they're not as great, to be honest. I do have my preferences of certain locations that I like to go to that I enjoy just because of the quality. The price is a little bit higher than some of the other places, but I think the quality is what makes it for me. Because I've been to like the all-you-can-eat sushi places before, and their quality is subpar in my opinion. It's just not satisfying for me. I like quality. That's just me though. Okay. Let's see. So this, turned off. Okay, so right now we should get, there we go. Test popsicle called. Okay, so that's going to be our test call. Never eat sushi at the mall. I would, if I was starving at the mall, and I needed to eat something before I start to, you know, like you get the head spins after a while. At least I do if I'm like super hungry. Yeah, I would eat mall sushi. If I had a choice, would I? No, I would rather go to a restaurant. Everybody's different. Okay, so we got that portion of it. So at this point, what we need to do is we need a projectile game object. We need to set the texture to be the popsicle. It will need velocity, distance, and height. Okay. So we'll give it some velocity, and then, and it'll need rotation. A monetizing sound makes the audio sound the same, no highs, no lows. You mean where it's, there's another word for it. I'm just not familiar with the terminology. There's, I think, another word for it where it just kind of balances your audio, so your highs and your lows. So then it just kind of evens it out, and the audio spectrum just kind of has a more consistent high-low fluctuation to it. I think I know what you mean, but I didn't do that this time. But that anomaly, though, that I got, it's a really, really noticeable. If you listen to that video, like at about 5 minutes, 20-something seconds, you really hear the anomaly at its worst. It's pretty bad. Yeah, I have a lot to learn in terms of making videos for video audio encoding. So this was a really good experiment for me because it was my very first one that I made in terms of making a tutorial. Because previously what I did was just take my broadcasts, right? They're in MKV format. And what I did is I just trimmed the beginning of it, right? And I put in a descriptive kind of freeze frame that just kind of looks like or sorry, provides the details of what it consists of, and then it goes straight, it does a dissolve or transition into the video, and it just starts playing, right? Most programs have that option. Likely DaVinci does. I'm just not that familiar with it. I'm still learning it. I never use YouTube export settings. I do it manually. I tried both. I tried going in DaVinci. I did the YouTube export settings and I did it manually, and I got the same result. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. What program are you using for video capture program? I use OBS. It's pretty much an industry standard as far as I'm concerned. It's really good for capturing the video because it can do HVenc or hardware video encoder, whatever you want to call it, and that's what I use. So it's pretty good, and it outputs it at a really high quality MKV. So that's primarily what I use, and I think that's what most people use for video capturing anyway, because then you can even, like, all the neat stuff that OBS has, it doesn't matter. You don't have to use it only for broadcasting. You can use the transitions and kind of some of the benefits of it, some of the core functionality, plugins and whatnot. You can use it, not that you really need it if you're going to do offline editing, because then you could still do all that stuff yourself. I've been using a professional one for years. I'm not sure what you mean by I've been using a professional one for years. Are you using DaVinci for editing? Is that kind of... I don't recall what it's called. It's my other two computers. No, you don't use DaVinci for the video editing. If not DaVinci, what do you use? Premiere then? I guess if you're like old school and you want to just kind of stick with the Adobe suite and you already have it, then yeah, it makes sense. Because I know most graphics people are just, they already have the Adobe license, right? So they use it. I've used Premiere in the past. I never really liked it personally. It just didn't go well with me. It's good. It's very, very powerful, and it's very, very convoluted for a beginner like me. I find DaVinci a lot easier to use personally. I have it, but I don't use it. I don't like it either. Well, I don't blame you. We definitely have that in common. Okay, well, if you're using something that you think I should be aware of, feel free to, you don't have to do it right now. Just drop me a text in Discord, drop me a message sometime, and I'll take a look at it. I may or may not use it, but because I'm already committed to DaVinci, I find it really useful personally. Yeah, I think I just need to learn the whole environment, the whole process, right? And create some kind of a pipeline to optimize it for myself. That way I can make tutorials more quickly. Because when I was doing that one, it's a 5-minute, 50-second video, but it took me like 3+ days to make it. That is a lot of time for a 5-minute video. And during the time, of course, I was learning, I was researching, how do you do this? How do you do that, right? How do you speed up a frame to match this exact amount of time, right? To fill this gap because your script says X amount of words that take X amount of time, that kind of stuff, right? Like, I didn't know how to do that stuff. It was interesting to learn, but then there's so much more. It's an entire world of stuff, terminologies and all that stuff that I just don't know, but it's fun to learn. And I don't know, I liked it. I did enjoy it. I definitely liked it. It was fun. It was a good experiment. You can't get any quicker than the one I use. Okay. Yeah, just drop me the information sometime in a Discord message, and I'll take a look at it and see what it is. The thing I liked about DaVinci, though, is that it's really good at utilizing a multi-core processor. What I didn't like about it is that to use hardware encoding to re-encode, not for reading your source file, but for re-encoding. Let's say you've made a video like me. It will not give you hardware video encoding, so it doesn't give you HVenc unless you have their premium license. So their free version has almost everything, except it doesn't give you hardware encoding, which I find a little strange, but okay, that's fine. To make a 5-minute video, like encode a 5-minute video, it takes about a minute anyway, so that doesn't really matter to me all that much. Most pros use this. Best for professionals, Snagit at TechSmith. Okay. Screen capture and recording. Okay. Okay, so I can see it is definitely a premium. But is it better? Oh, that's pretty expensive for screen capture. The price went down. I think that's still expensive. The price went down. Like OBS is free and it's pretty popular. Okay. Well, either way, I will. It's more than a screen capture. Yeah. I just had a quick glance at the features. I can see that it's definitely feature rich in some of the stuff that it does. I just don't know if there's a need to replace OBS with this, because OBS is pretty good and it's free and it's open source. I really like open source projects, and I do occasionally support them, like donating. I do occasionally support them just because I like the idea of it. I think a lot of the open source stuff is getting a lot better and better, and it's inevitable for something open source that gets contributed and used by a lot of people to eventually just continue to get better and better and eventually be really dominant. Like, for example, this one platform, it's called Godot or something, I forget, but it's a new one that's kind of new but not so new, that's being worked on by the open source. That one is going to be a serious competitor down the line. Right now it's still in its infancy, right? But it's still usable. In the future, though, it will be a dominating platform and it will surpass likely Unity and Unreal in some ways, not all, but it'll be very appealing to indie developers because it'll just have so much to offer, right? And it's open source, meaning anybody can, who has the knowledge, can contribute on a technical level or donate to it financially, right? So, because some of these engines, they're meant for very specific things, right? Like you use Unity if you want to export across platform. You use Unreal if you want the absolute, like, you know, AAA best stuff. You use Game Maker Studio if you're indie and you just want to do 2D stuff, and it's like a one-time license of like $100, right? Or you use, let's say, RPG Maker if you want to just, you know, do some fun stuff and learn with that. All of these serve a different purpose, right? It all comes down to, like, you know, what's your intended usage, what's your purpose, or sorry, what's the purpose that you want to use it for in terms of your own project. So yeah, I think open source is good. I'm a big fan of it personally. The one-time license is more expensive. Okay. And if you want to upgrade, it's 12 plus a year. I mean, that's not bad. I'm really, to be honest, I'm really tired of these renting an application. I like the older days where you pay for it and you get it, right? And they would still support it, right? Like if you paid X amount, especially for the premium applications, you would still get support, right? They would give you updates, right? But now you don't own anything. Nothing. Like even I know I'm sidetracking a little bit, but it's become such a bane that even the car manufacturers are jumping on that bandwagon. Like that, what was that other one that the car manufacturer recently that got some heat because they disabled, what is it, your seat warmer or your remote start or something? If you want that, it's an extra X amount per month to use functionality that's already in the car, right? But they disable it, so then you have to pay for it monthly. Like those little things, they add up so much over time, and it's like, where did the buy it and you own it, where did that go? Like, because at this rate, you're not even going to own the chair that you have in your home anymore. You're going to be renting it, right? There has to be a balance somewhere, and I personally don't like it. I understand some things make sense. If it's an ongoing service, it makes sense. Like you have a phone, right? It makes sense that you're paying for an ongoing service for a phone because there's costs, there's maintenance costs, there's operational costs, there's repairs to their towers and cell towers and whatnot. I understand that stuff. I'm not saying that it's fairly priced. I'm saying that I understand that there's a cost associated with it for the effort that goes into maintaining it. What I don't like is the trend that's becoming more and more popular nowadays where you don't own it, right? Even if you pay fully upfront for it, you don't own it, right? I had all Adobe products, but I stopped upgrading them because then you have to rent it. I hate it. I went back to Corel Graphics Suite again because you can own it still. I know that feeling. I know that feeling. I remember like even now, like some of the other industries, like things like even AutoCAD, right? You can't buy it. You can only rent it. AutoCAD, to buy their license, right? It's a yearly license or monthly if you want, but yearly it costs less. And it's about, I forget, but it's like about $3+ grand per seat, which is absurd, right? And you don't own it, right? So that means at the end of the year, the billing cycle, right? It's now disabled. You can't use it. Doesn't matter if you got ongoing projects, you can't do anything. It's disabled. You're sitting there with your project files and an application that in the previous year or previous years you've paid ongoing licenses, right? So that means if, let's say for example, let's say the price doesn't change. In 10 years from now, right, you will have paid $30,000 if you were to count from now till the end of the 10-year time span. You will have paid $30,000, right? And you need to keep paying, right? Meaning as soon as you stop paying for this application, you can no longer use your project files. That's pretty bad in my opinion, right? If it was something that was more reasonable, I would understand, but that's a pretty serious cost. And these companies like engineering firms and other companies that use it, they don't buy a single seat, right? They buy it by the tens, by maybe even if it's a major one, they buy like 100 seat, right? That's a pretty serious cost. I understand, again, the application is always being worked on, it's being improved on, fine, right? But there has to be some kind of a respectable balance, right? You need to respect your customers. That's why so many people go to piracy, right? Like for me, paying, I couldn't justify paying that, even though for Unity. So I stopped, I paid for 1 year premium with Unity on the low end because I wanted certain functionality. And to get that functionality, so then you're either, again, same idea, right? You're renting, you're not owning, right? So you're paying that base price, which is X amount. That comes to being, I think, $600 US per year, right? So that's $600 a year US, and that's the lowest premium you can pay for getting it, right? And then on top of that, I found out only after purchasing that oh, the functionality that I want isn't actually in the base. It's an add-on. So it's an adder price, right, onto that. So then I looked at that. Oh, okay, well then that's another like, $10, $15 a month, right? I'm like, okay, so then I need to pay that, right? And then I went on the iOS website to see, because you need to have a developer registered account. And then that also has a cost. So that's another $100, $150 US, right? And all of these are ongoing, meaning you're paying yearly, right? So I did it for a year just to use that functionality that I use literally like maybe 2-3 times a month. And then at the end of the year, when it expired, I was like, yeah, this isn't really for me. It is not indie friendly at all. Like, because you change that to Canadian, right? That's a lot. That's roughly 30% more for the numbers that I just threw out there. They're not exact numbers, of course, but you know what I mean, right? So even from an indie point of view of someone who's making hobby projects that I do for fun, right? That cost accumulates very quickly, right? So I can only imagine what it would be like for studios, whether they're indie, they're AA or they're AAA, massive corporations. That's pretty serious cost. But you know, it's just kind of the way things are right now. I used to pay 65, is that right? 6,500 a year for Visual Studio Premium? 6,500, or is that supposed to be 650? Because that's pretty extreme. I didn't even know. I mean, I knew Microsoft Visual Studio had a premium. Okay, so that is the correct price. That's a lot. I wouldn't pay that. Let's be honest. I use Visual Studio Community, like the one that you see right now, and I would not pay for this. And I'm not trying to put them down. I just think that for what's available, right, I would go with that other one, that company. You do have to pay a yearly license, but it's like 100 something bucks a year. It starts with a J or something. I forget, but it's very popular. And I've even considered that, right? If I didn't spend that money on Unity and those other add-ons that I really didn't get much use out of it, I would have actually gotten that premium license for that developer thing, and I wouldn't be using Visual Studio Community. I think it's called Rider. That's it, JetBrains Rider. Yeah, that one, I've heard really, really good things about it personally. And at some point, I think I will at least try it out and just see if it's for me. Because it's got some really nice functionality that I like. I probably won't use, like most applications, you only use what you use, right? Like even this, I use maybe Visual Studio Community. I use maybe like 10, 20% of its actual functionality of all the things that it's capable of. The other stuff, I don't really use it. So, yeah. Oh, the premium gives you all Microsoft products. Okay. Yeah, okay. So that's like, that's not like a premium. It's like a corporate premium kind of license then. Okay, no, that's understandable. Microsoft definitely has some pretty steep costs associated with it when you're on the business side of things. But it's Microsoft. What are you going to do? Oh, you get 10 licenses on all their products. So you got 10 seats, basically, is what you're saying? Because if that's 10 seats, then that would make sense. So that would bring it down to about 650 per seat, roughly. Okay. Ooh, it's getting toasty. So at about so in this apartment that I'm at right now, at about 2 o'clock, depending on the clouds and whatnot, when the sun reaches a certain rotation point, that's when this side of the building starts to warm up, right? And then at about 4 o'clock onward is when it starts to peak, like maximum heat, and then it stays cooking warm till about 4 in the morning, which is kind of rough. So I actually ended up getting an AC. I just don't have it on right now because yesterday was pretty cool. So it was nice to have a couple of cool days, but seems like the heat is back, and I don't have the AC on right now. I'm definitely feeling the heat. It's starting to ramp up. I'm definitely feeling it. I think I might have to turn it on at some point, but that's fine. We'll go for now. I'm going to check. Soul Vampire, hi, how are you? I'm good. How are you doing today? It's over 8 grand now. Oh, wow. I guess we can take a peek at that. No, thank you. I don't want to sign up. Okay, so yeah, this is an enterprise thing. Okay, yeah, so it's really for corporations, businesses, definitely not for average Joe like me. So does this give you access to the entire Microsoft suite in terms of all their applications and whatnot? What was the point of that? Seriously? That's it? Is there a more option, or is there just that's it? Like, you're just gonna give me that? Wow. Okay. Okay. So where's the actual services though? In terms of what it includes, requirements, not all that much. This really doesn't say much, to be honest. You'd have to know what you're getting to kind of get it. You would think Microsoft Edge is the only browser optimized for Windows. No, that's not correct, Microsoft. One, Microsoft, please remove this. I never want to see that. I don't want to have to click close. And then Microsoft, please fix this. This is embarrassing, right? When someone clicks more, they want actual details, right? This is not more. This is, oh, we cut off our sentence and we're too lazy to fix it, and we're not going to actually give you more. This is less. This isn't more. This is like less with a couple of more words onto it. More actually means more, like actual details. That's from my point of view. And I did work as a web developer over 10 decades ago, or sorry, over a decade ago. So yeah, I do think this is just silly. Anyway, I pick on Microsoft. I'm sorry. Me and Microsoft have a love-hate relationship. You also get free web services. Okay. I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I use some of the Microsoft products for work and whatnot, but mainly it's like SharePoint, OneDrive. I cannot stand Microsoft Edge. They really need to stop using their browser. It's not that their browser is bad. It's because of all the terrible things that they have done as a member of the ISO standard. They themselves break the standard. They themselves do not follow the standard, and they tell the standard community, no, you guys need to do what we're doing because we're Microsoft and we control the operating system. So even going back to like IE6, it was notorious for just being so anti-standard that you would develop your website to other browsers because they follow the standard, and then you develop your website for IE to be compatible with IE6. It was really ridiculous. So Microsoft having a really unstable browser crashes. The browser was tied into the operating system. So before, not now, of course, when the browser crashed, it could actually blue screen your operating system and you get a full system crash, and so on and so forth. And everybody just stepped away from Internet Explorer, even though they really try to force it on you. And then they rebranded it as Microsoft Edge to make it very edgy and cool with the kids, but it's the same browser. It's IE. They just changed the visual appearance of it. I'm not going to use it. Anyone that I know, anyone that I come across and I see them using Edge, I tell them stop using it, use something else. What should I use? Use Firefox, use Brave, avoid Chrome, use Firefox. It's really an industry standard. Use Brave if you want to, but just don't use Internet Explorer. They can call it Edge. It's like Facebook changing their name to Meta, right? Because they got all that bad publicity. Oh, we're not Facebook. Facebook is that other company. We're not that other company. We're Meta, right? Like, who are you kidding, right? It's the same thing, literally the same thing, right? It serves the exact same purpose, right? So my daily driver browser has been for a very, very long time Firefox, right? My secondary browser used to be Chrome back in the day, right? When Chrome was good, but then Chrome just kind of went downhill and my secondary browser became Brave. Brave is made from, so part of the guys who were, or some of the team members that were part of the Firefox development, they branched off and they went and they started their own and they made this one called Brave. And Brave, surprisingly, from my experiences, runs like the best on mobile devices, like performance-wise, on certain websites. It's more noticeable, like for example using Twitch, right, or using YouTube. You actually get better performance and better battery life on Brave than you even do on Firefox on Android mobile devices, which I find really strange, but that's been my experience. So for mobile devices, I recommend Brave. Brave. What's this one called? How do you bring up the... Oh, this is a drawing that one of the community members did. I think it looks awesome. I just leave it up there just because I think it's really well done. It's very appropriate for the game. Where's the file settings? I cannot seem to find it. No, it is Brave. It's called Brave. Yeah, this is it. Brave browser. So for mobile devices, I use this one. And it's got some good customization. I highly recommend any of these that you install, go in and customize it. So for mobile, Android specifically, I recommend this one. For desktop, Windows, Firefox. I've been using it for ever. Even back in the day, Netscape, I was using it, right? But yeah, this one is pretty good. When you do install it though, there's a whole bunch of stuff in the settings. I recommend spending a little bit of time and configuring it for you. That way you get what you need and nothing more, right? So it's customizable. I definitely always recommend the dark theme just because it's easier on the eyes and whatnot. But yeah, so this browser, I can personally vouch for this and say, from my point of view, I'm not saying I'm an expert and you should absolutely use this and no other. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But what I am saying, though, is that from my experiences of using this, right, this is a really good browser. That's why I use it as my secondary browser on Windows, but it's my primary one on Android because of the performance, really, performance and stability. That's it. But for desktop, Windows, stay away from IE. They can call it Edge. They can call it Meta, whatever. I don't care. It's the same thing. I started out with Netscape. Yeah. I think we all used Netscape back in the day. Something about it, it just always seemed to be in some ways better than IE, right? Even from back in the day. And then eventually, after some time, when when Firefox came out, I just standardized onto Firefox and never went back. Of course, I've tried other browsers. I've tried IE. It is exactly what it is. I've used like Opera, I've used Chrome, I've used the different off branches of Chrome. I think there was one called like Chromium or something at some point, and a whole bunch of other ones, but then they all kind of just faded away into obscurity. And there's a bunch of other ones too. But I do experiment with them when something new comes out that I hear about. Like for Firefox, if you're using Firefox, of course, you want to install uBlock Origin, and you want to install Badger, the two plugins that I do use, and whatever other plugins that you want to use. Like if you want to use NoScript or whatever, you can do that. They got a pretty extensive library in terms of plugins that you can use for Firefox. For Brave, I think they do support Chrome plugins. So they support the plugins that Chrome has. So you can go to, I think, their plugin store. So anything that, or maybe almost anything. I don't really use many plugins just because it's a mobile device. I don't really have a need for it. I used to use the Always Desktop one and always allow zoom, but now browsers kind of have that built in. And that's my preference. Even though I'm on a mobile device, I don't want to see the mobile version. I think mobile phones are good enough that you can just kind of zoom in, like pan zoom in, or pinch zoom in and out. And the mobile version, I'm perfectly content with it. Or sorry, the desktop version, I'm perfectly content with it. I don't need the mobile version, right? And I think more and more people are starting to go that direction. Yes, I understand for those who are visually impaired, or for those who have disabilities, the mobile version is more user-friendly. So in that case, then there's definitely merit to it. But for someone like me personally, I always want the desktop version. I don't want the mobile version. But that's, again, that comes down to personal preference. Everyone's different. Can't really say there's a one-size-fits-all solution. It just doesn't really exist for most things. And that's maybe a good thing. Okay, so I want to open up... Where's my other one? That one. Okay, so I'll open up that one. And we'll just wait for it to load. I need to go see how I did it in the other one, and then borrow from it and bring in some of that functionality into this one. And I did do, I mentioned in a previous broadcast, I did do an Android build. So it is working, this version that you see me testing on. I did do an Android build, and it works really well on my old tablet. And it's a consistent 60 frames per second. So I'm quite pleased with that personally. I think it's really good that I haven't optimized it yet, and I still get really good performance out of it. So that's good, but in the game room, there's a lot less environment stuff. The real challenge isn't going to be the game room. It's going to be the world and the dungeon system when we get to it at that point, because there's going to be a lot more environment stuff and props and players and moving objects and particle effects and combat and your pets as well on top. Each player will have a pet, right? So there's going to be a lot more. That's when it's going to really be a proper benchmark to see what the performance is going to be and where I need to optimize and what the minimum system requirements are going to be for the mobile devices. For desktop, this project, I don't think it'll ever need a dedicated graphics card to run. What happened to my camera? It died. Okay. How did you test it on mobile? I just do a build because Unity can build. So I have it default set. So when I run it in here, it's similar to running it on Windows. But if I was to do a Windows build, I would still get better performance than this. But over here, because I have my project set for where's build settings. So these are all the different platforms that Unity does support right out of the box. It doesn't show you all of them. So even though it does say PS4, PS5, what it doesn't show in here is Xbox. You can build for Xbox. You can build for Nintendo Switch. You can build for other things that are also not in here. But right now, because of this install that I've done, so you can choose it on your install. So when you do an install, and this one here, add modules, right? So you can see the ones that I've installed. So I have installed, I don't care about this other stuff, not really. So I have Windows for building the Windows application. For mobile, I have Android support. It can do iOS, but this is misleading. You can't do iOS on Windows. Mac has, or Apple has intentionally made it so you cannot, right? And they will, they don't allow Unity to do that, even though Unity is capable of building. So if you're to install Unity, right, on Mac OS X, you can do both an Android build, a Windows build, a Linux build, an iOS build, and any other build. But because it's running on Windows, right, Apple says to Unity, you're not permitted to do a iOS or Mac OS X build on Windows. That is intentional by design. That is not accidental. Why did my camera die again? I really need to get a real camera at some point. But yeah, so anyway, this has, so my configuration right now is that if I hit Control B, any Android device that's connected to it as a default is will go look at this, and it will build to the default. And then I just test it on actual Android device. I have older, not like old, but it's like a 2019 lower end tablet. So it's not the most powerful, which makes it perfect for testing, right? And I test that as a base. So then it's an accurate representation of a lower end device from X amount of years ago, right? To some degree, right? It just doesn't have high hardware specs. Any modern, more recent, like smartphone, anything that's mid-tier or higher is going to have more than enough capabilities to play at 60 frames per second. But my goal is to try to reach the largest audience, which is why I'm making this be cross-platform and cross or various inputs. So it supports touchscreen, it supports gamepad, it supports mouse and keyboard on all devices, right? So when I build the UI, when I build the functionality, I take that into consideration, right? But yeah, no, I tested it and it worked out really well. And I do tests on, and I show you guys once in a while. I basically do an Android build, and then I use Screen Copy, which is an open source application for mirroring an Android device. And I show you guys like kind of what it looks like, and you get to see it. And I play it once in a while. Yeah, that's kind of how I use it for testing. That's what I do. So what I want is, so this is the other project that I'm kind of building from, because this one I did too much test stuff and a lot of experimenting. I couldn't fix it. It was too much. It's not that I couldn't fix it. It was too much effort. It was easier to just bring in everything piece by piece into a new project and just salvage the code, refactor it, and all of that stuff. That's why this new one, the project that I'm building, is it still requires me to bring stuff in, but it works pretty good. Oh, low battery. No, we got enough for today. Okay. There's a website to mimic iOS for that. Website? I'm not sure what you mean by website. I know you can use like VirtualBox and virtualize iOS, or sorry, Mac OS X inside of Windows. I've used it. It's not great. Not on my hardware anyway. On maybe a high-end newer desktop, it'll run better. I'm confident it'll run better, but still, it's not feasible, right? So, because Apple, what they want, and which is why I previously explained that I spent like X amount of money on a premium 1-year stuff for Unity, it was partly to be able to do iOS builds, right? So at that point, I may as well just wait and buy a Mac OS X laptop and a iOS device, mobile device of some sort, which I will have to do at some point anyway. It's more cost that I don't really need right now, right? I can do all my development stuff perfectly fine on Windows and on Android for now. And then when we get to that point, then yes, I will have to buy a Mac OS X laptop or something, and then use or obtain likely a iOS smartphone or something. I'm not sure, but I was just trying to avoid that cost, right? Just because it's an unnecessary cost at this time. But there's no reason, none whatsoever. And Unity application, this application that I'm using, is fully capable, 100% capable of compiling for iOS or Mac OS X. The only reason why they don't is because Apple says you're not allowed to. Therefore, they disable that logic. That's the only reason. I used to develop on both. Programs are almost exactly the same other than the color. Yeah, no, it comes down to money. That's all it comes down to. Because if I have to have a iOS device and a Mac OS X device too, that means I have to buy them, right? More profits for Apple. That's simply what it comes down to, right? They want to control that. They don't want anyone else cutting into it. But they're okay with someone building a Windows executable build from within Mac OS X, right? But they're not okay with the other way around, right? So, but Windows, just because it's such a standard that everybody uses it, they don't care if someone, builds on Windows for other platforms just because it's so common, right? It's just, it's a little strange, but it's corporate greed, really, is what it comes down to. And that's why, you often hear this is why we can't have nice things. There's that whole meme. Here's an example, a realistic example of that. This is why we can't have nice things, right? It just comes down to corporate greed. That's all it is. When you make money on the game from Android, then buy an iOS, I don't think I'll be making money on this project anytime soon, if ever. But I do want it to be cross-platform. That was always my plan. And I had planned on buying probably a Mac OS X laptop and a iOS device at some point in the future. But it would just literally sit there and collect dust unless I have a use for it, right? This would be a use for it, right? because I don't like to have stuff that I don't use. I only get stuff that I need and stuff that I use on a regular basis. Anything that doesn't fit into that, I just don't get it. You're going to make millions. Okay, I appreciate that, and that's a nice sentiment. Though I think I've mentioned it many times before. I do this for fun. This is a hobby. I take it as a hobby. I enjoy it as a hobby. I like the people that I get to meet. I like doing these broadcasts. I like the community members that are in the Discord. I like it when people tell me that they used to play the old Flash client version of it and that they had fond memories of it as a kid. Because right now that thing is like 12 years old. That Flash game, yeah, it's 12 years old. So those kids that used to play it are now adults in the Discord. And they tell me their stories, both the good and the bad, which of course goes hand in hand, right? But I like those stories. I like it when I've made something that I got enjoyment and I learned from making it, and then I shared it with others, and it brought them good memories. It brought a small community together, and that's my motivation. That's my driving force going forward. Is it possible that one day it'll grow to be popular? Yeah, I guess. But do I really care about that? No, not really. I'm okay with what it is that I'm doing. I've always liked making things, tinkering with things, and I've always liked video games. I've always wanted to make my own video games. As a kid growing up, right, you fantasize about it. What would you do if you could make your own video game, right? And then here I am as the adult kid who never really, I guess, kind of grew up. I don't think we ever really do grow up out of our little the kid inside of us, really. And I'm making something that I enjoy making. Your game on Android alone will be premium. We'll see. We'll see. What happened to your face? I don't know. It's my face. I was born with it. It's just the way it is. But yeah, I've actually, I think artwork wise, it is kind of one of the parts of the game that's still lingering. I really do want to improve on the pixel art and get it to be at a point where I'm really satisfied with it, because the current artwork that we have in the game, the pixel art stuff that I've done, I think it's good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's good, but it's not quite there. It still has room for improvement. Is that a beard? What? You mean I have facial hair? No. I don't have facial hair. Do I? And there's the guest star, the barking dog. And there's the owner screaming at the dog. It's not barking right now, but it will. I've never noticed. When did you grow that? It just kind of grows on its own. I don't know what to say. It's something that I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it. It's something that just happens, right? I don't know. Why, how, when? I'm not sure I can answer those for you. I would suggest maybe a quick Google search and see why does facial hair grow, how does facial hair grow, and when does facial hair grow. Okay, let's see. When did you stop shaving? Um, I I never did stop. It's just right now, because the lighting, we're right in the transition of where the angular rotation of the sun and the earth, it makes the what you're viewing, it just makes it look like I have more facial hair than I actually do. But no, I do shave. I do keep it well groomed. Okay, where's this popsicle? That's what I want. That's what I want. Okay, so this uses the animation property curve, of course. We have a popsicle script. Okay, so I'll need to bring that in. I'm going to change that probably and extend it because we need to have a projectile is what I want to have. So projectile will likely be the base class. And then popsicle will extend from projectile. That way projectile, I want to use, because I want to use particle effects and other kinds of visual aesthetics. I want to reuse some of that functionality stuff, similar to what we did with the explosion particle system, with some of the other stuff that we'll be doing, and I will be cleaning up or adding a little bit of polish to this stuff. So right now we got the block working, we got the shield working. When I add the popsicle in, so this will be the third one, that will complete our set of usable items. Then I'm going to loop back and I'm going to add some visual aesthetics to this. The block is going to get some animation stuff to it, scripted animation, and a particle effect for when it hits the ground, right? I want to have like this little bit of cloud, kind of like poof, coming out the side, like dust coming off the side from where it impacts onto the ground. The shield, I might actually make that into a 3D using a Fresnel lens or something, and then have it go through a shader that makes it look like pixel art. So it'll get pixelated to match the rest of the stuff. And then this here, the popsicle, it's going to have multiple phases. So one is going to be the projectile when it gets thrown. I want it to have a little bit of a tracer. That tracer is going to have a bit of a magical kind of thing, kind of appropriate for the popsicle, right? Kind of like how when you throw a fireball, right? It has like a fire and smoke kind of tracer behind it. Same idea, but this will be, of course, more appropriate for this object. And then, so it's going to have some velocity. And then on impact onto the ground is when it explodes and you get the freezing effect. That freezing effect, I'm also going to be using likely a mixture of some a particle effect and shader or quads of some sort. I'm not sure yet. We'll figure it out when we get there. But so I'm going to do some polish stuff, a little bit of aesthetics. But for right now, we're on the third one. So once I got this implemented, then we can loop back around and get it working. So it looks like the curvature for its velocity for the projectile is pretty much there. Code-wise, I'm not sure what exactly is in the code, but we'll definitely have a look at it. Yeah, so and then of course I need to change it from being sprite renderers to being quads using the Atlas, because we're no longer using 2D objects in the 3D environment. 2D is only used for the UI really. Yeah, I'll need to make a projectile class. I'll of course take as much as I can from this logic of the popsicle and do that. Okay, so what we need is we need popsicle script. We need animation curve, property curve. We already have that because that's my custom one. So what we don't have is this. I'm curious if we do, if I have brought it in popsicle. Oh, we do have it. Okay, so let's take a peek at this and see what does this consist of. Okay, so this extends from environment object. Oh, it's one of those. Okay. I think we stepped away from environment object because that was for 2D. Okay, so then it will extend, its base class will be the poolable object. From poolable object, it'll extend to projectile. Then from projectile, we'll extend to popsicle. And then from projectile, we'll extend to fireball. And then from projectile, we'll extend to whatever else, like meteor or something, right? I think that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so the base class we don't use, the environment object, we are deviating away from that. And I added this in the wrong place. I wasn't paying attention. Whoops. I added this to the effects class. I meant to add it to the game room. Okay. So we need to add it to the here. Explosive. Yeah, okay. Can you just put it right here? Oh, I can definitely feel that temperature and humidity going up. It is noticeable. Okay, so we got that there, and then okay. And then we'll just add a bookmark here. And we'll come back to that. This does not need to be open. Okay, this we're going to refactor it. So we'll need a projectile that extends from poolable object. And then from that, we'll extend to popsicle. Okay, so let's see. In the environment stuff, what do we got? Pickup item. I don't know if I want to put it into effect. I don't think it makes sense. Where's my explosive? Oh, okay. So if explosive is in here, then yeah, this is the place to put it. Okay, so it will be an no, it'll be a what's it going to be? I always have challenges with this. We're going to call it No, it'll be environment projectile. Okay, and then environment projectile. Okay, and then this will extend from the poolable object. Poolable object has the interface iPoolable. I don't think we need this stuff right now. Okay, so then this is what we're going to be working on. And we're going to take as much stuff from Magic Popsicle class, and then we'll delete this class. And then what we'll do is we will create a Magic Popsicle that extends from environment projectile. So then we inherit everything. Yeah, that sounds good. What do you guys think? Yeah, we agree? Excellent. Okay, so first thing I want to do is let's go with projectile object. Let's add a public enum, and we'll say projectile types, and we will make it of type integer. Default will be 100% in agreement. Excellent. Thank you for that. So we'll create an enum. The first one will be probably a default, and we'll just give it value of 0. And then we'll have a popsicle. We'll go with a value of 1. And then later on, it will use it for things such as, let's say, fireball and et cetera, and et cetera. It'll get used for that. Okay. And then I want to make a drop down out of this for now. And the logic will get shifted around later. But for right now, what I want to do is now make a, whoops. What happens if we just type serialized? No, it doesn't add the brackets. For a second there, I thought it would. Okay, so we want private projectile types, and this will be, and we'll just call this type. No, let's be specific. It is a projectile type. And the default will be default for now. Okay, so that'll give us a nice little drop-down menu. Okay, so what else do we need? We'll definitely need, because it is a projectile, it'll likely need these things. So let's just bring these in. Detonate at end. I do want to make more of this stuff serialized fields. Travel distance. I don't know, but no, this one. Yeah, whoops. Let's make that one serialized for now. And then if I don't need to, I'll remove the serialized field attribute later on. Okay, position start and end. Absolutely, we will need that. Let's make those serialized. And then rotation. Yeah. Rotation speed, meaning how fast it'll be rotating. Total time elapsed. Okay, so that'll be for the animation stuff. I don't think we'll need that, will we? We may or may not. We'll see. Rotation active. Yes, absolutely. And rotation duration. Interesting. So a lot of this stuff we can use. We're not going to use this. We're going to be... Actually, no, we will use that. What am I saying? Position start end. Okay, so yeah, that's when we dynamically populate it into the custom animation property curve. Because we're not using Unity's rigid body or what's it called? Force for these things. I like to kind of stylize it and have a bit more control over it. So I use the my animation property curve. So what this is, it's just a wrapper. It wraps around the animation curve component that Unity has because it's really powerful. And it just allows me to individually modify X, Y, and whatever. So this is it's a custom class and it's very specific for my use case, but it's also proven to be invaluable. It's really good in terms of what it offers, because then I can do dynamic kind of animations to a degree, to a very limited degree. Without having to use a Unity animation controller, Unity animation controller override. And I can dynamically change the peaks, the start point, and the other parameters using the animation curve component. So I found that to be very useful. Like in this case, we're doing a random height on a projectile, right? And that way we control both it's I guess simulating its velocity and height or whatever, distance and height, but it's manually done, and then I can go in and I can tweak it and I can make it do whatever, just like how we did the KO too. When the character models get knocked out, I'm not actually using the force on the rigid body. I'm manually doing it through this, which gives me a more stylized control. Because then I could, like, on a KO, imagine when you KO someone, right? You could dynamically change it so instead of them just going in a normal arc, right? The arc can actually go up. It can go down, then it can go up, and then it can go down again, kind of like an M shape, right? You can't do that. Why is my camera just nonstop dying? I don't understand. Like, I mean, I do and I don't. Video connection is lost and cannot be received. Seriously? Okay. Just bear with me for a sec, guys. Okay. And we're back. Audio is good? Yeah, audio looks good. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of interesting things you can do with a custom solution like this, which I really like personally. So we'll definitely be using that. So let's see, what do we need? We want rotation target. Right, because the rotation is going to be the nested object that will hold the quad. So we're definitely going to have that. And that will be a game object. Animator, no, it's going to be animation property curve. And that will be a serialized field. Okay, so we got our animation property curve. And then let's see, what else do we need from this? I think we need all of this stuff. Rotation. rotation speed, time elapsed. So this will be used for the animation. Rotation active, we definitely want that. And rotation duration, which I don't understand, because if it's active, it should continue to rotate. So I'm not sure what that's used for, but we'll clean it up. And then we have two coroutines. One will be for recycle, which we will not use because we extend from poolable objects. So it already has that coroutine built in. And coroutine explode, meaning when it hits the ground, explode. But in actuality, what we're going to be doing is we're deviating from that as well. We're going to listen in on the animation property curve. So when it finishes its animation, that means it has impacted the ground. We're going to register in on that event and then use the event. So if the animation duration is extended, then the event will just be triggered at the end of the animation. The time will be irrelevant. So I think that's the better approach, personally, but we'll get to that. Okay, so then what else do we need? Detonation at end. So we want to be able to set these. Yeah, we definitely want to set these at this point in the hierarchy of classes. So let's go and grab these. So we'll bring those in. What else do we need? Start we don't use. On destroy, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to use destroy. But since we're extending from poolable objects, so on destroy, we'll need to say base.destroy. And then other stuff here. So we want to destroy on the base. Actually, no, it'll need to be, what's it called? Public override. Is it public override or is it protected override? Or I forget. Let's have a look at the base. It's protected virtual void. Okay, so it'll need to be a protected override. On destroy. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we have our on destroy. Start we're not using, but since I'm going to forget later, let's go with on start. We'll do the same. Override. Override void. I forget. Is it? Where's my start? Poolable object. Oh, we're not using start. Really? Start. Okay, so we're not using start in this. Okay, so that would make sense. So we don't need start. Okay, so on destroy is good. Test animation, absolutely we want to have a test. Wait, why did rotation speed not come up? I didn't bring it in. That's why. My vote is your beard is causing electric static on your camera. That is entirely possible. How's this? Satisfied? Or you want more? I don't know how bad that comes through, but I can definitely see it fluctuating on the yeah. Hey, you basically asked for it. You wanted static on the camera. I delivered. There may have been some misinterpretation there, but, you know, it's all the same. Sounds like nails on a chalkboard. Really? I'll have to listen to that afterwards and see what that sounds like, because honestly, I don't know what it sounds like. I was referring to why the camera went black. Yeah. Okay. So the camera thing, and I think I've explained it before, but it's a really old phone that I took and I put Lineage OS on it because I don't like to throw away stuff and just make e-waste when it's perfectly usable still. So I put Lineage OS on it because it's a really old phone now. And then I use it purely as my camera. So the challenge with that is that I use DroidCam. I think it's called DroidCam. Yeah, so it's called DroidCam. DroidCam works fine for regular usage, but then we're developing on or within Unity, and that uses and regularly checks for Android devices because I'm currently using it as a Android development platform, right? So it constantly checks against ADB, right? And what happens is that they conflict, right? It causes interruptions in the camera feed, right? And that's what results in the disconnection. The application DroidCam is not versatile enough to notice that there's an interruption and for it to reattempt to continue to feed. So what happens is it just disconnects every time, right? If I catch it right away, right, I can, and I notice it right away, which is why I asked you guys to let me know when it does happen. What I do is I just quickly go into the application and I click the refresh button and then I tell it to reconnect manually. But then if I don't, what happens is the application is still running on the phone that Lineage OS is on. And because it times out, what happens is that the screen shuts off and the application goes into standby mode. And that's where you get the black screen. So then if that happens, then what I have to do is I have to disconnect it, unlock the screen, right? Plug it back in, right? Then go to the Windows application, tell it to find the Android device, select the appropriate device, click connect, and then the feed starts again, right? And it interrupts periodically. So whenever Unity checks for Android devices, it'll disconnect. And also when I do a build, right, it will also disconnect. Those are the times it'll disconnect. Obviously, this would be a non-factor if I had a dedicated camera. But to be honest, is the camera really that important? Kind of, but it's just another cost, right? It's something that I don't really, personally, I don't care about too much. Like I'm perfectly fine with turning off the camera and just having audio because I think audio is pretty good. But then later on, maybe, right? Because I know some people want to see who's broadcasting, right? They want to see the person on the other side. It creates that a little bit extra connection or whatever. It makes it a bit more entertaining, right? Because then you can see face expressions, hand gestures. You can see someone laughing, right? You could see whatever, right? So Let's hope you don't burn out the phone's camera. I think it'll be fine. This phone is going to work fine for a long time. And I really encourage it too, that your old devices, specifically Android, they only give you updates for like 1 or 2 years, right? Some of them give you like 3, maybe 4 years tops, and then that's it. You're supposed to discard it. These phones work perfectly fine, right? Don't let them tell you otherwise. They say, oh, the hardware isn't, and this was the excuse before. They say the hardware is outdated and it can't run the latest version of Android. That's just flat out incorrect. Completely incorrect. The phone that I'm using right now is from, I don't know, it's about 8 years old is the camera, or the smartphone that I'm using as the camera, right? It's been through a waterfall. It's been in the toilet at least once. It's been dropped countless times. It's fallen off my bike when I was bike riding. I don't know, you name it, right? So, and it's still working perfectly fine, right? I've replaced the battery on it once, and it works fine. The only thing that it needed was an OS update. And the irony being is that, so the other thing that they're doing now is, and I don't know if most users are aware of it, and they say it's the battery has a lifespan of, let's say, 2 years. Every year it degrades by 10 to 20% depending on usage and the environment conditions that it's in. That's true, right? But the part that they got caught on was that they actually underclock your phone. Yes. They don't do it right away. They do it very gradually. So think of it as your phone is at peak performance when you first get it, right? Think of it as date, not how old. The age will determine how much it gets underclocked. So they say to keep it stable, there's some whatever excuse. It's nothing more than just an excuse, right? But what they do is they gradually underclock it. So as your battery degrades, their excuse is that because the battery degrades, we underclock it, right? Android does it, iOS does it, everybody does it. Everybody does it across the board. So what that is, let's say your CPU, as a rough example, runs at 2 gigs, right? So after year 1, right, they'll underclock it, right? So instead of it running just at 2 gigs, right, it'll now run at, we'll say, 90 to 95% is what the CPU, GPU is now going to be underclocked as, right? Within another year, so within 2 years now, it's going to underclock to about 10 to 20%, right, is what it gets underclocked as. Even if you change the battery, which is their excuse, their excuse is that it's the battery, there's no way to reset that because it's on a time thing. It uses a date and it's in the firmware, right? It's a firmware thing, right? There's no restoring that to a degree, of course, right? It's an OS thing, not a firmware thing. But if you change the operating system to Lineage OS, there is no underclocking. You actually restore back the performance that you get lost, which creates this false fallacy that Lineage OS is faster. It's not. It just restores your phone to its original working condition. That's what it offers you. Nothing more. Sure, it might have some performance benefits here and there, but that's what it does. That's why this phone right now can run this well. This phone was one of those where the bloatware was so bad, right? It would just crash. Its battery would drain so fast. It was basically unusable. It was past its warranty. At 8 years later, who's going to, where am I going to take it in to be repaired? Even if I take it into a repair shop and I had the default ROM or the default operating system on it, it would still be Android 6, right? Right now it's running Android 10, I think, right? So the manufacturer stopped supporting it, but I went in and I changed it, both on that phone and this one here that I use for Touch Portal. I don't know how well you can see that because of the reflection, but so both of these have Lineage OS and they work very well. And my main daily driver as well. I even considered making a YouTube video of me changing it to Lineage OS just because I'm tired of it, right? In that I can't remove bloatware. That's one of my pet peeves on a device that I paid X amount, hundreds and hundreds of dollars for. They lock you out of the core functionality, and they want you to continuously be buying a new one every year, right? Which is what I don't agree with. I think that we should stop producing so much e-waste. Like the whole concept of recycle isn't to just throw something away. It's reduce, number one, reuse, number two, then recycle in that order, right? Reduce first, reuse number two, recycle number three, right? Recycle isn't number one. Recycle is the third option. Oh, hey, Uzak. Sorry I've been gone. Nose surgery and then a new job. My B-day yesterday. Wow. Sorry about the nose surgery. Hope it's working well. Happy birthday, right? Hope you're feeling a bit better, or at least I think you should be regardless. But either way, welcome to the broadcast. There's no need to apologize. I understand everyone's busy and doing their own thing. I am too. But yeah, we were just talking about one of my pet peeves again that I sometimes go on a rant about how much waste we create from these smartphone devices that are very capable. It's just like, to me, there's no reason for it, right? It's a perfectly functioning phone, right? Even at 8 years plus, I'm still using this and it'll still continue to work. Like I can still play classic games on it, right? But if I was using the default OS that it came with, right, and I didn't unlock the bootloader and then go in and reflash Lineage OS onto it, it would be unusable. That one and this one. So I have 3 phones in my possession right now. One of them being my old phone from like 8+ years ago, right, which is the camera, right? The other one being one that I got from a family member, which was their really old phone from like 6, 7, 8 years ago. I don't know exactly when. It's an older phone, right? And then I put Lineage OS on that, and now that is my touch portal that I use for controlling these kind of screens and transitions and whatnot, muting, camera on, off, and all of that stuff, right? And then I have my own actual phone that I use as a phone for whatever. So I reuse these devices. I don't think we should be throwing these things away. If anything, you can take an older device, which I highly recommend, make it into like a mobile gaming device, and you can hand it to like your nephew or something, right? And they can play games on it, like emulators and classic games and whatnot. They're still very functional computers, really. Let's just sing happy birthday, Des will start. Please no, I can't sing. You think my beard was bad and it sounded like screeching? Wait till like you hear me singing. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. My YouTube account will probably get banned at that point. How about 6? One being Windows Phone. The iOS one is only one I have difficulties with at the time. The phone ignores people calling. Yeah, Android phones are pretty notorious, especially the older ones, just because they had so much bloatware, Facebook being one of them. That's why I really despise Facebook. They can call themselves Meta, they can call themselves whatever. It's still Facebook. So they worked a deal with the older, back in the day, with the first generation of smartphones, where they came default and you couldn't uninstall and you couldn't disable them. And they were all about collecting information. That's where they made their money, right? So it's a more commonly known not so secret now, that so applications were not allowed to just sit idle in the background and collect data. So the workaround was that the Facebook application that you use would run an inaudible audio file. So it's playing an inaudible sound, right? 24/7, which allows it to still run in the primary memory of your device and continue to collect information. That is about as shady as it can get in my book, right? But what that did was that it resulted in battery drainage, right? And it resulted in a lot of unstable and crashing for a lot of people because the original Facebook application for mobile devices was very unstable. Me being one of them who had the unfortunate experience of, there was a scenario where I really needed a ride home, but the Facebook application could not be disabled and it kept on crashing infinitely. And because it kept on crashing, it kept on draining the battery, and I needed my phone, simply put, and I was unable to use it because of this one application. That was this is a long time ago now, right? That was the main driving force of me finding out about Lineage OS, which was previously called CyanogenMod. And I've every phone that's come into my possession since then ends up getting CyanogenMod, which is now called Lineage OS at a certain point, just because it gives you root level access, so you have administrative control. You can uninstall any application, including system core applications that will brick your phone, which then you can just reflash it, of course, if you get into that state. But like, it's a computer. If I've paid like $600, $800, or $1,000 for it, right, I should have control over what applications are on this computer, especially if they're going to crash and it's not going to be supported. I should be able to uninstall them, not disable, uninstall, full uninstall. I didn't say your beard was bad. I said I've never noticed you had a beard. Your face is so small and the size of my thumbnail. I don't see a whole lot of detail. Yeah, if you're watching on a mobile device or something, yeah, it's going to be pretty small. But I think on a normal size screen, it should be big enough that you can kind of see what I look like for the most part. I intentionally made it really small just so the main viewing area, the main screen real estate, can be used for what's being illustrated. So that's kind of my logic behind it. But I mean, everyone's different, right? I originally considered like bringing myself in, like, you know, those broad streamers that bring in like full, like not full, but from like torso up, or like you get the upper body, and then they use a chroma key green screen to remove the background, and they bring themselves in. That was my original idea, right? I just didn't really have the hardware for it. And I was like, do I really want to do that? I don't know if I do, right? I mean, I could, but does that bring anything in terms of value to the viewer in the end, right? Because if you've seen me from the waist up right now, you'd basically see a shirtless guy with a microphone basically up close to his face. That's what you would see. Probably don't want to see a shirtless guy like a big, you know, taking up a good maybe chunk of the screen. It would probably be better for screen real estate or better usage of the screen real estate to show what's actually being worked on, in my opinion, I think. Anyway, that's kind of how I view it. But I don't know. Maybe some people want to see that. I don't know. He's nude. Not exactly, but let's just say it's a hot day and I'm not wearing much. Let's be honest. I don't mean that in any way. I just mean it's a hot and humid day. Like, especially right now. It's hot and it's humid. I'm using a 4K monitor. Oh, okay. Then it should be the camera area that I allocate for the screen real estate should be big enough for you to kind of see what's going on. Anyway, I mean, it really comes down to personal preference. Like, would you still watch if it was like this, right? I think majority of people would say yes, but then a lot of people actually prefer this to see who's talking, right? Like, what's the person doing, right? So it really comes down to preferences. And from my understanding, from the people that I've spoken with, having a camera is kind of important for some people, and that some people is large enough percentage of the audience that you want to have a camera on. So, and I don't mind. I'm like, whatever. To me, I think the audio quality is more important. Like, I can't watch a YouTube video, or I can't watch a broadcaster or streamer if their audio quality is like really bad. If it's not great, I could still watch it, right? But if it's like really bad, I just can't watch it. It's a no-go for me. Your camera is fine, but I would never use a camera myself. Yeah, everyone has their personal preferences, right? Like, I don't mind personally to have a camera on me. Audio is most important. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Audio is definitely more important for this type of medium of entertainment or whatever type of broadcast that you want to do. Audio is really important, I think. That's why I use this microphone instead of this microphone here, which is currently disabled. I used to use this before, but the audio quality, when I hear it and I listen to my own voice, I was like, that doesn't even sound like me, right? To me anyway, just because I know my own voice, right? It didn't sound like me enough that I was satisfied with it. So then I switched over to this, like an actual microphone, and I was like, yeah, okay, there's no going back at this point. The audio quality it's a night and day difference. Once you use a real microphone in comparison to these headset mics, it's completely different. It's very different. Yeah, and there's a lot of different kinds of microphones too, right? Like some people, the common one that's a really expensive one is the SM7B, same manufacturer as this microphone, but much more expensive. And I thought initially, I was like, yeah, I'll get one of these things. How expensive could it be? I saw the price tag on it. I was like, nope, that's not happening. Right? I think I'm much better off getting a proper audio interface and a proper, like an actual microphone like this one at, fraction of the cost than buying SM7B. And SM7B, don't get me wrong, I think it's a really good microphone for the use case that it gets used on. And there's good reason why people use it and why it's like an industry standard, but to me, that little bit extra quality doesn't justify the cost of it. I'm not a professional. I don't do this as a living. I do this for fun, and I do this as a hobby, and I do this to share it with you guys for entertainment and for education, of course. But ultimately, it's a hobby, really. And it's a fun hobby. I like it. I've learned a lot about broadcasting. I've learned about audio. I've slowly been learning about video. I've learned about sound in terms of the reflection, how you want absorbing things to absorb the reflection so you don't get that echo, the reverb, and whatnot. And a lot of other interesting things. So now, gradually as I learn and I get better, we'll continue to improve on the stream and the broadcasting overall. But for right now, I'm content with it. I think this is fine for the usage that I get out of it. Okay, so we definitely want that to just kind of split things out a little bit. I think you perfected the sound. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I did. It took a while to figure it all out, but even still, the sound has room for improvement. I don't hear the externals you mentioned in the past, like SkyTrain noise, etc. That's because I moved. I'm no longer near the SkyTrain. But you will hear vehicles periodically, and if I go silent, you'll see the noise floor is still pretty high. Right, so that's my noise floor now. That's because there's no SkyTrain that that the microphone will pick up. The fan is going off, so if I was to turn off the fan, so this area here from the fan, it would drop, but because the audio is compressed and it's coming in at 192K to the to you guys, and it's being like I'm sending it to Twitch and to YouTube, right? And then they're re-encoding it, and then they're broadcasting it out to you guys, right? So we actually they do a little bit more in terms of the in the encoding process. I think they take a little bit out. These under 60 is anything under -60 is nearly inaudible. Nearly. So you would really have to listen in for it. But if you really, really turn it up and you have a full-on headset on and you crank it all the way, you will hear it. But for the average user, especially if you're on a mobile device and you got earbuds on or something, and it's not cranked like super loud, you will not hear it when I go silent. Right? But those sounds are still there, like the fan being picked up. You'll hear the dog barking on occasion. You'll hear the occasional car going by. But because I'm talking and it's the dominant sound, it kind of drowns out the other stuff. But if I'm not talking at all and those are going on in the background, they'll be a bit more noticeable. So anyway, these are just more things that I'm still learning as I keep doing this more and more. So, yeah, I think like overall though, I'm happy with the direction that it's going. I'm definitely happy with the way or the direction that the project is going, because that's the main thing, right? For me right now, that's really important for me. And there's been some challenges with that, of course, as expected. But I mean, when is there not challenges with development and development related stuff? It kind of goes hand in hand, right? Okay, so what I want to do is with our projectile is going to have rotation. It's going to have a rotation active. Let's actually move this one up to the top of this group. So that's going to be the rotation that it's going to be rotating on. So that doesn't need to be serialized. Rotation speed, I definitely want to serialize this one. And rotation active too. Yeah, okay. So we want to say serialized field, private. Whoops, I meant to copy. So we'll make both of those serialized. Rotation time elapsed. So this one I think is going to be used for the animation. And this one is going to be used for the animation. So this at this time, I'll disable it until later on when I need it. Then I'll enable it at that point. And then let's see, what else do we need from here? So the test function, we'll definitely use that. The update, okay, so when rotation is active, oh, rotation is active as a part of the animation. Okay, so what I want is rotation, I want it to be rotation enabled. Doesn't matter, I don't know, but this is a part of the animation. So we're going to move this one down as well, temporarily. Because if we set rotation speed to 0, it's not going to rotate anyway, right? But if we take up rotation speed, then it will rotate. I don't know where that 700 comes from, but we'll figure out some good numbers for it. When we get to that point. My goal is to make the environment projectile first, so it extends from poolable object, so it uses the object pool, and then from there we have most of the logic here in the projectile and its capabilities, including the particle system that it uses and the other effects, and then extend from environment projectile and then make popsicle from that, and then make fireball from that, and make whatever. So this might even be redundant and might not need to be there, but for right now I'll leave this in there for now, and we'll see how it goes. But then I want to then have the magic popsicle class, I want that specifically to then attach that to our prefab that we're going to make for the popsicle. So we'll get there. I don't think we'll get there in this broadcast, and I've been going for a fair bit of time. We're kind of running low on time here, but can definitely add a bit more functionality here. And then, like I said, after I do the after I build in the functionality, like the code stuff for the popsicle, then I'm going to come back and we'll do some aesthetic stuff and some eye candy for the block usage, the shield usage, and the popsicle. And we'll use particle systems likely for sure we'll use it for the block and the popsicle. I don't think the shield will use the particle system, but I'll likely make the shield 3D and then use a Fresnel lens and then a pixel shader to make it look really cool. Like, it's going to look super cool. It's going to have a 3D, like, let me just bring this up. So I've seen some really cool shields. So Unity shield shader, like you can do some really cool stuff. Like it'll probably end up looking maybe not quite to this extent, right? Because there just isn't enough pixels to have this kind of thing. But this is kind of what I was thinking, though, is not to this extent, of course, but a much more simplified version. But you do this with like the shaders, right? And then you run it through, the shader can then take this and pixelate it and make it look like pixel art. So then it doesn't look like, you know, a clean 3D object. It'll fit in within its environment. Or one of the other ones, like this, that's kind of still the same. But I don't want it to look that fancy. I just want it to look Yeah, I think this one is probably a bit more simplified, but kind of like something like this. I think this was a Bracky one. Yeah, Bracky. That guy made like so many tutorials. He's awesome actually. But yeah, so the shield will conceptually borrow from this or one of the other tutorials that I find, and then it'll look pixelated. So this is done through a 3D object. So it's a 3D sphere, right? And then the shader is what gives this kind of a visual aesthetic on top. And then you can go even much further than that. But that's gonna kind of be what I'll be using for the shield, because right now it's just a quad. It's just a circle, literally. Like if we were to run it right now, I think, is it in a broken state? No, it should work. So right now, if we were to run it and we run use our shield, so, oh, it turned off. Okay, right, so it's connected. So here's our shield, right? So similar to before, right? It's just a flat object. And we could totally do this, right? And I could go the pixel art approach, but it's literally just a flat quad. It's been stretched, so at this angle of perspective, it looks pixel accurate, right? But then we can take this, right? And there isn't that much pixels to add those kinds of details. But there is enough pixels to add a little bit of detail and aesthetic and polish onto it, which would then just make it look that much nicer. And then you can just swap out the texture, because those that I just showed you, like this one here, this is a texture. So this is a graphic. It's a hex graphic pattern. If you think about it, it's a flat image, right, that just gets repeated over the entire object, right, to create this kind of effect, right? It could be anything. It could be hearts. It could be anything you could pretty much imagine, right? But there isn't enough pixels, right, within this to show that much detail. So we have to be very selective. But I do want to experiment, because I like to learn from these things too, right? And then the shield, right? So this shield would then later on be used for other types of visual aesthetics in the game. When we get to the pet combat and the pet combat system, we could use this as similar types of, let's say, like a shockwave or a fire or some other kind of lightning effect, right? You could do some really cool stuff once you get a good handle on the understanding of the concept. And that's what I want to learn, right? And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this, is to learn these concepts, right? And then when I learn these concepts, then I take it to the next level in terms of the visual aesthetic of how it fits within the project, right? Like everything that you see here, I had to learn, how do you do this? How do you do that? How does it all kind of come together, right? And then eventually it starts looking like this, and then this will eventually start looking better and better, and we'll have character art. Oh, and I'm working on a new title screen right now too, so it won't just be where's our scene, main menu. So I'm working, one of the other things that I'm doing is I'm going to be replacing the title screen, and we're going to have a new logo too, or game title, if you want to call it that. So all of those things are kind of being worked on behind the scenes, and they just take time. But we'll get there. We will definitely we'll get there. It'll look good. It'll look really good. I'm looking forward to it personally. And every time, I make these little bit of improvement or progress, should I say, It makes me happy, right, to see progress on such a big project, because it's gotten big again to the point where progress is fairly slow. But it's gotten to the point right now where I can build this, and I've tested it on an Android device with Gamepad, and it works well. The game room is nearly playable. Of course, I need to fix all of the bugs. I need to fix all of the weird anomalies and all of that stuff, and that's going to take quite a while, right? And then there's the polish that goes on top of it, right? Which there isn't really much right now, but it'll look really good. It'll look really good later on, but we'll get there. And it's a journey, right? That's what I try to, or that's what how I look at it, and I try to explain it for the viewers, such as you guys, that it is a journey, and it's a journey that we're going on together, right? Like for every so often, periodically. I write dev journals. I made my first YouTube video, like an actual YouTube tutorial video that you guys are welcome to check out. You'll have to forgive me for the bad audio on that. I don't know what happened. Like I said earlier, DaVinci just kind of butchered the audio. But the original source audio was clean. But yeah, these are things that I enjoy kind of just working on it, figuring stuff out, and eventually we'll be able to play together online. And not long ago we had our gameplay session. I know not many people made it in that time frame. That's okay. I understand it doesn't really work for a lot of people's time frame. But if there is a better time frame that could work for everyone, including for me, because obviously I can't broadcast during work hours, right? I can't broadcast during time that I have other responsibilities and commitments that I have to attend to. I can't broadcast during workout time. So it has to work out for me too, right? Time-wise. So it just made sense to go on Tuesday during one of the broadcast times and have that be a gameplay session. So if that doesn't work, maybe another time works better for you guys. And if there is something, bring it up as a conversation in Discord and let's talk about it and figure out if there is maybe a better time that we can all play together online. Then I can try to figure something out for my schedule, and we could do it kind of like a once in a while thing, like say once every month or two, right? That way it's not going to be on a regular basis, but it just kind of helps bring everybody together, right? And we can play and have a mutual time that we can just hang out and have some laughs and just play together. It's all looking good, Des. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so we're getting pretty much near the end of this broadcast here. For those of you that are new, hello and welcome. If you like this project and if you like to see more of these broadcasts, I do broadcast on Tuesdays and on Fridays. You're welcome to jump in on those times. And I do archive these videos onto YouTube. You can watch these broadcasts live on Twitch or on YouTube. It's at your discretion, but either or works for me. It's just whatever kind of works best for you. I know some people have difficulties watching on Twitch and they prefer YouTube. Other people prefer YouTube over Twitch or Twitch over YouTube for whatever reason it may be. You're welcome to it. Whatever works for you. I don't mind. But I think we're pretty much wrapping things up here for today. Get random rotation. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll toss that in there as well. Because I'm going to be deleting this class. This is not going to exist. This is coroutine recycle, explosion start, and explode. Okay, this one here, we will keep that one. I will disable that though, just because I don't need those errors. I don't have time to pursue those right now. Yeah, I think we got most of it out. And then we'll need to go into the base class and see what we need from here, if there's anything that we need from here. Because this was also the old object. Instead, I want anything that's relevant to either be in the poolable object if it needs to be in there. If not, we have another version, which is another version of this one. So instead of environment object, I have a new one that can go in between. So then we can extend from that one extends from poolable object. So then environment projectile can extend from that other one. I know a lot of extending from classes, but that's one of the things I like about object-oriented patterns, is figuring those out and seeing where you put what, because then it allows you to have reusable logic, and I really like that. Reusable logic is something I didn't do enough of in my earlier programming days, so I never really appreciated it. But then as I got more and more into complex stuff and projects such as this and others, I have much better appreciation for the pattern that object-oriented programming allows, which is to use polymorphism. It's just really a fancy term of saying you have a base class that you put some logic in, and then you choose which direction you want to branch off, and one of those branches, whichever one you go, will always inherit from the base class. So then that extended branch, whatever appropriate logic you want in there, you put it in that level of hierarchy, and then you can extend from that and extend from that and extend from that. At any point you can deviate from the logic, but anything that came before it in any of the classes that came in the tree of hierarchy, they're considered as still a part of the topmost class. So it's just really cool. I like that. And then interfaces as well. I try to use them more and more. Anyway, so I think that's going to be it for me today, though. So I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out to watch these broadcasts. For the regulars, you know the routine. You know the times that I do broadcasts. Feel free to come by and say hi. I understand you're busy. Under no circumstances do I expect you guys to come by all the time, but it is nice, and I appreciate it when you do have the time to come by and hang out and watch me work on the project. I do appreciate that. Next broadcast will be, of course, on Tuesday, same hour. And of course, as usual, the broadcasts are archived onto YouTube. If you would like, you're welcome to join the Discord channel. And I do post on Twitter and on Instagram. Really, when I go live, I don't use it for personal usage. Outside of that, it's only used to just kind of get the message out there, really. But that's going to be it for me today. So thanks again for coming to hang out. Have a great weekend, and stay cool. It's going to be a hot one, and it's going to be humid. So stay cool, stay hydrated, and I'll see you next time. Bye.